It is still the National Science Week 2025, and I am joined by Mr. Daniel. Mr. Daniel, can you please tell me more about yourself and what profession are you in?
So, my name is Dan Matsapola. I am a space scientist at the South African National Space Agency. I'm based at the Earth Observation Division, where I have been given the space education portfolio to develop across South Africa's 9 provinces, 52 districts, and 257 local municipalities. So I studied satellite engineering after my bachelor's degree and honors in physics. So I learned how to build a satellite. I have worked in a satellite ground station. I currently am in the Earth observation application area. Yeah, so space science and technology has 4 application areas. You have remote sensing, which is what Earth observation is. It's when we obtain information without direct contact using satellites in space or aircraft or drones today. You have telecommunications. One of the applications of telecommunication is the famous direct-to-home television that people get from space, DSTV, digital satellite television. Then you have space science and exploration, which is where you go to space, send things to space. Astronomers send telescopes to space, right? And then you have the thing that allows us to move on the surface safely. It's called global navigation satellite systems. So space is about that, the application areas. But outer space is beyond the Earth's atmosphere. It's in outer space. We know where it starts, don't know where it ends. It doesn't end.
All right, thank you so much. That was a very beautiful intro. So, yesterday you actually left me thinking, and I've been thinking about this the whole night. You actually said that if you don't mind your business, you'll end up minding other people's businesses, and that will actually keep you or will make it like you will actually remain a slave. What do you really mean about that?
So I can't take credit for this because this is the teaching of Robert Kiyosaki, the guy who wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad in 1997. I read it for the first time in 2002. I started working in 2001. And so there is a chapter in Rich Dad Poor Dad where he asks this young person, "What business are you in?" And the young person says, I'm in banking business. He says, "Oh, you own a bank?" And the young person, "No, say I work in a bank." He says, "Oh, so you're not in banking. Your employer is in banking business.
Okay.
You get paid to mind your employer's business. You are an employee."
Okay.
All right? So, in that same light, my name is Dan Matsapola. I'm an employee at the space agency. I get paid to mind my employer's business. That's not my business. So in Rich Dad Poor Dad, Kiyosaki goes into the financial statement, the entire basis for financial literacy. So income, expenses, that's the income statement. Balance sheet, assets, liabilities. And he argues that financial literacy should become part of education, without it, you'll produce parrots who are perpetual dependents all their lives. So, by nature, we are born dependent on parents, right? And then we grow up, we start earning income after the CV has done its job. We sold to a panel of interviewers, they gave us a job. We think we are independent. We are not independent. In my book, Thriving in the Fourth Industrial Revolution, I describe it as we have substituted dependence on parents with dependence on employer. It's like a young girl who says, I found myself a blesser. Daddy, I don't need you anymore. Right? You are fine as long as the blesser blesses you. Right? You've substituted daddy, dependence on daddy, with dependence on a blesser. The day you have a problem with the blesser, you're back to square one, which is where you have been all along. You just thought you are independent. So Kiyosaki says we have been programmed, and I agree with him. He says with your income as an employee, you are minding your employer's business. And if you are an employee, it's earned income that you are getting. It's not passive income. Right? Passive income is income that comes from assets. When you get paid, before you get paid, your money is automatically deducted. Your employer plays the role of agent of South African Revenue Service. They collect it before you even see it, give it to SARS, because that's where it belongs by law. With taxes, income tax being the first line item, you are programmed to mind the government's business. So with the salary, you mind your employer's business. With taxes, you're minding the government's business. And let's see what you do when you get paid. Suddenly you are able to afford a certain lifestyle. And then you can't buy a house because you don't have the money to buy it. So you go to the bank, you take a loan, you show them your pay slip. They give you a bond. With the loan, whether it's for buying a house or a car, you are minding the bank's business with your loan.
Okay.
All right? And of course, if you are a human, you have many systems, including the digestive system. With your digestive systems need to be fed with food regularly, you're going to buy it. So you minding the businesses of the billionaires who put their distribution of stores to supply you with what you need. So if you don't buy a house and you rent from a landlord, with your rent, you're minding your landlord's business. So this is what he means when he says you were programmed to mind everybody else's business but your own. And then he asks, he even draws lines to show the flow. A job is not an asset. I said passive income is income that comes from assets. A job is not an asset because by definition, Kiyosaki says, an asset is that which puts money in your pocket whether you work or not. A job only puts money in your pocket when you work. You stop working, the money stops coming. You see, you depend on the ability to work. There will come a time when your ability to work, and by work we mean waking up at home, going to some place to do certain things in exchange for payment. When you're compromised, if you get injured, if you are old, if you die, all those who depended on you are back to no supply. There is no thinking in this method. Yet it's used by more than 95% of the world population. So in my career sessions, I advocate for, one, taking control of your financial destiny. We are born dependent. The first journey is to break the umbilical cord of dependence. Get to be independent. And I can define it because in my PhD, that's what I studied. Okay. Right? Mm-hmm. So financial independence is when you generate sufficient passive income to meet your standard of living. If your standard of living costs 20,000 rand a month, including the taxes that you must pay to the government by law, and you generate 20,001 rand, you are independent because you are able to meet your needs regularly per month, 20,000 rand. Then after financial independence, you get to financial freedom. And it is defined as you generate more than 2 times your standard of living. So it's measured. You can measure it. You can set it as a goal and say, I want to be financially independent by. Then you develop a strategy for getting there. And it starts with you minding your own business. In other words, when you knock off, I have an obligation by the contract I signed with SANSA, conditions of service, that I will give SANSA 8 hours of my day. In other words, 40 hours of my 168-hour week. If you calculate 40 over 168 is 23.8% of my time, which leaves me with 76.2%. Now, what I'm going to do with my time determines whether I'm going to become financially independent. But if I don't even know that actually I'm programmed to mind other people's businesses but my own, I stay perpetually in this cycle. I get a promotion all the way to being CEO. Do you realize that even the CEO of a corporation is financially dependent? We think just because they earn more money, like 5 million a year, they can buy more expensive car, house, they can send their children to expensive schools, they can have a more expensive lifestyle. But they are just doing what we down the levels are doing, just on a bigger scale. So the cycle perpetuates. The cycle continues. So poverty proliferates when humans live their lives perpetually dependent. So when we teach young people about careers, this was never taught to me. It was Robert Kiyosaki's books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, which I title the best career book ever written. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the best accounting book ever written. We need these books to be shared in libraries. They need to be part of the education. If you don't teach financial literacy in schools, you are dwarfing the capacity of the nation to produce top entrepreneurs. Because entrepreneurship, you build your own business. Towards what end? A business is an asset. It must put money in my pocket whether I work or not, especially if I hire other people, just like you and I have been hired by those who initiated the businesses we minding. So we should also do the same and get to a point where we earn more money while we are sleeping than we can spend when we are awake. Many of the diseases that we suffer from, high blood pressure, stress related, they would disappear when we have control over our lives. So my career sessions are meant to inspire. So the vision of my unit, Space Education Unit, is to produce 450,000 science, technology, engineering, and mathematics entrepreneurs, investors, and wealth creators. Where do I get an example of a STEM entrepreneur, investor, and wealth creator? I am the role model. Through my 25 years in the space industry and the journey that I've followed, I have developed these competencies. So I work at the space agency. In fact, I give my employer more than 40 hours in a week because I love what I do. But I know what my business is. When I get home, I'm the group CEO of the Denel Group. I'm Dan. My wife is Nell. She's a lawyer. We're building group of businesses in South Africa and Botswana. We're training our children to grow up as entrepreneurs, investors, and wealth creators. So what my space unit, education unit is doing is what I'm doing at home. I'm the primary teacher of a child. I'm a parent. I do not delegate my responsibility to the teachers at school. They can't do for my child what I cannot do for my child. They deliver curriculum content, but the financial literacy, the investing, the creation, preservation, growth, and enjoyment of wealth is learned at the breakfast, lunch, and dinner table at home. Yes.
Okay, that was very beautiful, and it was Mr. Daniel from SANSA. So he's saying that if you want financial freedom, firstly, you need to mind your own business, and secondly, get 2 times your expense. Thank you very much. Thank you.